Let's get straight into how you can grow your coaching business, attract clients, and overcome some of the biggest blocks that you'll see as you try to reach that next level. Now, I'm going to be completely open with you here and say this is not the kind of video that has secret strategy. We're going to DM 50 people, the kind of hustle stuff that keeps you always working and never actually enjoying the freedom in life that you're building with your business, because we're not about that here. We're about getting you sustainable strategies. And so a lot of what you're going to hear right now is stuff that will build the foundation so you can more passively attract clients and grow your coaching business instead of always hustling, hustling, hustling. Let's start with number one. This is something that pretty much in 11 years as an entrepreneur, I have personally done this the most, and it's led to my biggest failings. And it's also what I've seen a lot of other fellow entrepreneurs do. This is the step we all forget, that we don't reassess, that really stops you from attracting clients in the first place, or attracting the wrong ones. And that is when you don't fully understand your niche or your target audience. And there's a very interesting strategy that I teach that I'm going to give you a little peek into here now that will help you. And that's something called Nook, Nook. So we'll be going through a few strategies here that will help you grow. And this is one in particular. I talk a lot more about it in my free training, How to Be a Powerful Podcast Guest, because that training, it's not just about being on a podcast, it's also about messaging. So if you find that this is interesting, what I'm sharing now, you can see a link to join that in the show notes. So Nook, what is it? Comfortable space in a house or apartment. It's the book nook. It's that cozy little sofa overlooking a meadow, or it's the place where you have your scented candles. It's the part of the room or the house that you always want to be because it calms you, it feels safe, you know what you're getting, you have a strong relationship with the nook of your house. This is what you want to create in your business. Actually creating the environment, the business model, the branding that draws someone to you specifically. Because you know the coaching industry, it's saturated. It's full of people, and this is how you stand out. So Nook, Nook, N stands for non-negotiables. These are the things that represent your values, the parts of your method, your strategy, your coaching that make you different, that you are never going to compromise on. So if you are a PR coach, maybe it is you absolutely have to have a controversial, unique, different, quirky opinion. And I will only work with you if we can do that. Or if you're a nutrition, it could be, I will only work with you if you are willing to first get blood testing, right? Because I want to make sure I know exactly what to offer. Non-negotiables. You have to have these because they are going to attract people to you, and they're also going to polarize people away from you. Meaning, if someone comes in and they don't agree with your non-negotiables, you both just saved a lot of time. Next, we have observations. Observations are the behaviors you see your client, ideal client, doing over and over again that are leading them to not get the result that they would if they worked with you. These are the everyday routines, mistakes, habits that you notice they do that they could change. But when you call them out, it brings awareness and they start to think, oh, yeah, I do this. Maybe I do need their support versus you just saying you need it, which never works. So, an example of behavior, for example, I do visibility mentorship and I specifically do it through podcasting marketing. And I would say something like, I see you spending an hour making your reel every single day, every other day, and getting a few hundred, maybe a few thousand views, a few likes, and no sales. If you hear that and that applies to you, you are going to stop in your tracks and think, yeah, I do that. But is there another way? So those are your observations. Next is your outcome. These are the results. And as much as this is important for you to know, it is not your selling point, but it is where everyone gets trapped. So when you're making a sale, you're talking about your business, you most likely fall into the trap of saying about what are the results you get someone. If I'm a trainer, I get you stronger. If I'm a nutritionist, I get you eating healthier. If I'm a marketing coach, I get you more visibility. But these are very abstract things. They're not stuff that makes someone think, well, I need you specifically. I need you. I want to work with you. I want this now. So you want to reframe that. And that's where we go into the K of Nook, which is the kicker. This is the concept of I must do this. This is necessary for me now. I want that. I give an example a lot of times of the hormone coach, the someone who's helping you balance your hormones. And the results they'll talk about are that I help you balance your hormones. And that sounds great, but it's not going to make me buy today. It's not going to have me really be aware of my pain points. However, if you say to me, hey, I can get you to the point where you have less mood swings, that is something I want right now. So the kicker is reframing that. Again, if you want more work and exactly how to do this messaging and really grow your business, watch that training. It's free, it's 30 minutes. You'll walk away with a lot of marketing gold in that. From here, we're going to move on into your personal brand. If you are struggling to get clients, or if you feel like you're constantly chasing them in DMs, social media, whatever, it is very likely the case that you don't have a strong personal brand. As a coach specifically, this is really important. You might later on have a team, and it doesn't need to be your face, your personality, but in the beginning, it is you. And you want people to be able to say, I know that marketing coach and she specializes in this. I like how she always says what she wants. She's unfiltered. Or I really like that running coach. That running coach is all about running outside and barefoot and whatever, right? Like it's your quirks, your personal stuff. It allows people to relate to you as a human being. Now, the biggest block here that you're going to experience is you don't want rejection. You don't want people to judge you. You don't want to share too much. And it is something that I have felt deeply. You know, when I started out as an entrepreneur, I was in person. I wasn't online. I didn't need to share this much stuff. And making that shift several years ago was really hard. Podcasting kind of exponentially decreases that because you share so much. But it's this idea that I want to share with you of vulnerability stacking. So, vulnerability stacking is you are going to gradually share small pieces of yourself, and they get bigger and bigger as you go. You don't need to share your biggest trauma ever, really. You just share something small about you and you grow from there. You get in the habit of every week, let me share something. Keep some stuff for you. Your whole life doesn't need to be on display. But if you really want to grow your coaching business, you need to establish that personal brand. And that is going to be you sharing your story. And it's also going to be you really stepping up as a thought leader and showing your expertise. And the best way that you can do that, show your expertise, share your story, go on a podcast, talk about it, share these things. This is where people come to hear this stuff. And you immediately get the credibility of someone else who's already built up the community. And that kind of goes into the biggest strategy I want to share here called leverage. Leverage we're taking from the finance world. So in the finance world, what you can do is leveraging is when you borrow resources in order to get a greater return on your investment. So you might not have a ton of people in your community, but you can leverage in order to get access to a greater amount. So in the example of podcasting, it would work like this. I'm going to leverage my expertise. I am a marketing coach, a visibility mentor. I'm going to take that and I'm going to go to a bigger show that has thousands of people. And the great thing about this is the more you do it, the more you leverage these different audiences, you grow exponentially because each person that hears you shares with someone else. There's no one successful in business, no one who is able to do it without some form of leverage from someone else. Either it was funding, it was their audience, it was a brand collaboration, it was visibility. Everyone has done this. You cannot grow without having some sort of leverage. Otherwise, you're constantly going to be chasing clients and not really having those moments of peace. Almost every month, if you can, where is some place that I can go and leverage? Where can I share my expertise? Where can I share my stories? And that is going to have a huge impact on your coaching business. It's really going to establish you as someone to refer. Next, we have this idea of the power of one, which you've probably heard before. Here, the biggest block is the wandering eye. So, the wandering eye, which you've probably heard of before, is this idea that we have as entrepreneurs that we can't seem to just focus on one thing. We love the excitement of the new. We love creating, but when it comes to follow through, consistency, operations, it can be really challenging for us to stay focused and we go to the next thing. I did this so many times. My biggest one was, though, I remember I was building a fitness business year and a half into it, and I wanted to create an activewear line. So I took a year when I could have been building the business I already had to essentially try to create a new one. It would have been okay if I made the switch of this is what I'm going to do instead. You can always change your mind. You can always pivot. But what you don't want to do is have 10 different things, all these offers, all of these partnerships, all of these things, these bridges that you're not finished building. It's not going to get you far. So the power of one is the idea that you've probably heard before of it's one platform, one product, one message, 1 year. You can have a variation on this, and I'm going to talk about one way I would recommend, but think about it. What is your big message that you can do for just 1 year? Can change afterwards. 1 year, what can you talk about? What's one product you can focus on? And then what is also the one platform you want to be on? Can't be everywhere, not if you're a solo entrepreneur. And for me, it's been about, okay, I'm going to focus on podcasting. That is my product. How to launch them, how to grow them, how to get on them. That is the one thing. My platform happens to be podcasts, so producing them. Anything I do extra, social media, email list, it's all supporting that so that I can see that growth potential. And you will see a huge difference when you focus on 1 year, just one, a little bit of commitment. Get that eye forward. Next, let's talk about how you can grow and get some income while you're also building your business. And this is the thing that it took me very long to learn, but it's a very simple concept in that you shouldn't create or produce anything unless you are getting live feedback from it and ideally paid as you're doing it. So if you think about the tech world, for example, when they're building apps, they are generally have some sort of funding. And when they're releasing it, it's often not finished. It's a very raw version and people are testing it. They're refining as they go. This is what you want to do. If there's a service, a product you want to create or you want to make better, you do a beta launch. You get 5 to 10 people in, half price, do it for 2 to 3 months, get their feedback, get their validation saying it does work, and make it better for them. This is a great solution all around because you're not creating without earning, and you're also making the best possible thing for the people you want to serve. Always do that. If you're in the middle of creating something that you haven't tested, pause, make a date 1 month from now, okay? 1 month from now, you are going to do a beta round and you can just start marketing that now. I know the biggest block here is going to be perfectionism or feeling loss of control because you want it to be really good when it's live. You want it to represent you and your abilities. But the best possible thing you can create, and this is going to sound counterintuitive, but the best possible product service you can create is the one that you develop with live feedback from the people you're selling it to. There is no better way. You don't know everything they need. You don't know all the problems that will come up. And the only way to know that is if you're doing it simultaneously. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, this moves into the next strategy, growing your business, attracting coaching clients. I mentioned the one product idea. This is for simplicity's sake. What you can do though is as you have more time, you're more established, is you want to also think about what's my customer gateway. They're going to come in at different levels. Let's say, for example, I'm going to give you the example of my podcast marketing, which is something I'm doing live right now. So it's kind of interesting. You're getting behind the scenes. How's this working? I wanted to have people at different levels. I have the free, of course, lead magnet you've heard of, the freemium, which is cheap, right? Then I have the mid range, usually a passive product that doesn't require a lot of my time after it's been produced. And then the one to one or high ticket. For me, for the podcasting, the high ticket was I was basically directly advising people on launching their own shows one to one. This is not my favorite way to work because it does require a lot of your time, and whatever you produce is not duplicable, right? You can't really use it again. But it's good in the beginning, and it's especially good if you have a higher ticket item. But what about all those other people that aren't ready to work with you, or they don't have the funds, but they could really benefit? That's where they come in at the other levels. So my mid-range is a program called Pod Boost. And Pod Boost is all about getting you on podcasts, getting you to sell on podcasts, and then also showing you how to really up your marketing and messaging so people come to you even beyond the shows. That's a mid-range product. Did it through a beta launch. Everything I'm sharing with you, I have done, and people can go to that first or only. The free thing I have is a guide. You can get it in the show notes as well. 17 ideas to get clients without ads or Instagram. And the reason I mention it too is because when you're thinking about these different customer pathways, from the beginning, from the start, we often think of the lead magnet as a throwaway thing, but it's not. Here, you want to really address an actual pain point that you solve later on. So you're helping them initially anyway. You want to give them something. You don't want it to just be bait and switch, which a lot of stuff is these days. You sign up and you basically get a sales pitch. Not fun, not great, not good. You want something which is going to help them. So for the 17 ideas, for example, if I'm working with people in visibility and podcast marketing, in that 17 ideas thing, I know that people who want to come to podcasting are tired of just growing on social media. So they want something else. And that's where those ideas come in. Really think about, what do I offer? And then what is, at the very least, if you're not ready to create anything else, any other products, what is the pain point smaller that I can offer now for free, that I can bring people in through, or for very cheap? Where does that go from? Because something you learn very quick as a coach is that it's not about always getting new clients. It's about retaining the ones you have, giving them the best service, and then also if you can work with them in other ways that help them. So thinking about, what are these different downsells, the cheaper ones, and upsells, the higher ones. Starting simple though, starting with what you can do now. Last two. So the idea is you offer some sort of free resource. That could be the lead magnet, but it can also be a discovery call. And this is where I don't always believe that it makes sense to do them, but a lot of people do. And the reason why it works when you see it working with people is a free call, but you need to set the expectations beforehand. You need to let someone self-assess if they are really even ready to work with you before they start the call. And most of us don't do that. We have people who we invite them to a call and there's been no reflection. They don't even know about your pricing or what you offer. And then, of course, it's a hard sell. This is what makes selling hard, is that you haven't done the prep work of the marketing and the messaging. If you do that, everything else is easy. I mean, when I'm speaking to, like, when I do this Pod Boost program, for example, and I'm teaching people how do you pitch host of shows, sharing my little secrets, but when I'm sharing how to do it, I'm also looking at, if you can spend 3 modules of this program learning your messaging, learning your branding, then it's much easier for you to really present yourself in the best light find the right shows or find the right people and connect. And it's the same with this call. So I have one coach I know of that I really think does this well. She is an executive coach and she has a form you have to fill out before you do a discovery call. And she says, though, if you do this call, you understand that if I think you're a fit, I'm going to invite you to my coaching, which starts at this amount. What this does is it immediately sets expectations. And someone says, okay, I understand what's involved here. It's not to exclude people or get people out or not have them come to you, because this is where the free resources come in. I've talked about how it's so important as a coach specifically to give your knowledge to help people who can't come to you or may never will. But you don't need to do it in a way that takes so much of your time. That's where, again, get on a podcast, share your knowledge, let someone listen and be like, oh, that changed my life, that helped me out, and it was free, and it didn't take you a lot of time. So I always believe in giving value and helping in ways that you can, but certain things you need to be careful of, especially if you're a one-to-one coach, managing your energy, managing your time. So if you do go down this route of offering the discovery calls, pre-qualify people. You don't necessarily have to name your prices in that form, but you should have them ask reflection questions like, what is bothering you? What are you working on? Don't just have them show up raw and then they don't even realize that you're going to talk about how you can help support them, because that doesn't ever go down well. And then this last one we're going to talk about is measuring your success. Here, the biggest block is we don't want to look at data. So many entrepreneurs, we don't want to look at the numbers. We don't want to analyze the patterns. We don't want to make it like a job. But if any of this is going to work, if you're going to grow anything, you really do need to know this stuff. I have in this program that I was talking about, Pod Boost, one of the things I have people do is look at your engagement and look at your competitors. And you need to see what is the messaging that people really like. What are the questions they ask? What is the stuff they want? What does really well? Because then you can take what you already know is a success and replicate it. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark and hoping. And that does not get you far. It's like that DM strategy of, yes, I can DM 50 people and probably I can get one of them to buy. But is that the best use of my energy and my time? It makes more sense for me to draw the people to me and know what's working. I always had anxiety about looking at the numbers of my business, and I avoided doing it until I heard about how your focus goes where your awareness is. So if my awareness is not on the numbers or the financials or what's working, how can my growth be? That's the last thought on growing your coaching business. I hope a lot of this has been helpful. Let's summarize so you got it. There's a lot of stuff here. You can always go back to it. First, understand your niche and your target audience. The Nook concept. This is a concept I created for clients to really understand how to connect deeply. Then we talked about building a strong personal brand, sharing more, being that thought leader. We talked about consistency, the power of one year, one platform. Leverage, the idea that the only way really to grow is to get access to bigger audience. We talked about beta launches to help you launch and monetize along the way as you grow, about having different product options, so versions of a product for the people that you are helping. That's the upsell and the downsell. It's also a way to retain your current clients. We talked about offering free resources, discovery calls, the pros and the cons, and then lastly, measuring your success and adjusting your strategy. Any one of these is going to help you get the clients you want. All of them are going to take you to the next level, but focus on one, go from there. And if you really want to get deeper into what is the easy way I can do this, get more clients, establish credibility, really learn what I need to about messaging, watch that 30-minute free training, how to be a powerful podcast guest. Even if you don't think you want to be on a show, half of that is just the messaging and the marketing that can really help you right now. It's on demand. Let me know what you think. You can always reach me on Instagram at Charday Rael. Thank you for listening. Thank you for always being here and for taking the time to really invest in your business, learning. That's the way that you are ultimately going to get ahead. And I'll see you in the next one.